Hey gang, recently I did a video for the latest Dior Privee fragrance called Cuir Saddle, created by Francis Kurkdjian. I've been wearing it here and there, testing it out further since I shot that video. But also recently I posted about Dior's Eau Noire as a discontinued fragrance. And Dior's Eau Noire has gone through multiple changes. And I had heard that it was discontinued, but apparently it's come back. So this is the first edition of Dior Eau Noire from 2004. And there was a second edition that launched when Francis took over Dior, and I don't have a full bottle of it. I have it in this version here. Maybe this is still the same version, but I was actually told it was discontinued. It was pulled, and I guess I keep relying on sales associates. I shouldn't, because that's what I was told, and I reported that, and I have to double check. But Eau Noire was at a discounter selling for a really great price, and the color of the juice seemed a lot lighter in the photos before in comparison to what's on the Dior website now. But as promised, I decided to do a video here on all fragrances that are created by Francis. And we're going to go through them, smell them, and talk to you about which are some of the better ones to to consider checking out. There are a few good ones. I'm really enjoying Cuir Saddle. It's not a wow. It's not something that I haven't smelled before, but I'm liking the way it smells. But most of the releases have been underwhelming, unfortunately. And I was looking for some wows. There haven't been. But for me, recently, the Bois Talisman Esprit de Parfum fragrance really wowed me, so I ended up buying it. But it's a redo of an Annick Minardo fragrance. Rouge Trafalgar is my favorite Esprit de Parfum fragrance, and that's a redo of a Francois de Marche fragrance. Gris Dior as well. So I don't have everything from the Esprit de Parfum collection because Francis has done all of them. But I do have almost every one of the Privée, the original Privée fragrances. And I do have Rose Star here as a mini. And I'm going to tell you about them because I didn't really care for Rose Star, so I decided not to buy it. But I have every other fragrance that he's created to talk to you about today. So we'll do this in alphabetical order. Then I'm going to go ahead and rank the original Privée fragrances. And then I'll rank the Esprit de Parfum fragrances that I have here as well. And that'll be the end of the video. But if you are a fan of the fragrances of the Dior Privée collection, let me know what your favorites are. Focus on the Francis Kurkdjian creations. And if you're a fan of the Esprit de Parfum fragrances, which are your favorites? I've got 3 of them. They are very, very pricey. They're also really long lasting, but they're really expensive fragrances. But either way, we are starting off with an Esprit de Parfum fragrance. One of my favorites. In fact, it's my second favorite. It is Bois d'Argent in the Esprit de Parfum. So it's an extract, a pure perfume concentration. So when I smelled this in France last year, because it had just launched around the time of my trip, I loved it. But I didn't buy it until I was in New York City in November. I bought it from Saks. And what I like about this in comparison to the original, they have really amplified its resinous qualities and brought out the amber further. And it's very, very honeyed. And even though they don't mention honey here, you've got the notes of incense or Olibanum. You've got Ambroxan and Ambergris here. Iris, they're not crediting the Myrrh, which was in the original. I've taken down information from the Dior website, which generally leaves off base notes for some strange reason. But there used to be myrrh here and the honey. So the honey has been really, really amplified, and it's nicely contrasted with the incense or the Olibanum note. And of course, there's also Ambroxan, Ambergris in the base to give it a really intense ambery experience. It's sweet, it's spicy, it's definitely very powdery because of the iris. But when you compare this to the original Bois d'Argent, night and day different. This is so super heavy and dense. And it's not as ethereal like the original is. The original is very, very airy to me. And I had a kind of a love-hate relationship with it. I know it's originally created by Annick Minardo, then it was redone by Francois de Marche, and then this Esprit de Parfum version is done by Francis Kurkdjian. Like I said, I had a love-hate relationship with it. I liked the way it smelled. I always felt like it was very fleeting. It was just very airy, like ethereal. Here, it's something really prominent, something really intense, and something that I really, really love. And I love that sweet contrast of the smoky incense resin against the honey. That is super, super sexy and also very powdery here because we've got a lot of iris. So the combination is really great. I really love this one. The only negative for this is the price point. It's super, super expensive. So yeah, I mean, their department stores are having major challenges now. I buy these usually when there's dollar offs or discounts and things like that, but I paid full retail for that because I was visiting New York City. But if you shop at Neiman's or Saks, they generally do the discounts. Generally, it's 15% off. Sometimes they do dollar off, like you spend $1,000, you take 250 off. Wait for those kind of deals to buy these fragrances. But I think this is totally worth it. Like I said, the only negative for this is the fact that it's too expensive. And then also, I'm putting it here in the list because Francis did create it or recreate it, but it's not really his fragrance, honestly. But again, I really love the way this came out, and definitely will recommend Bois Talisman Esprit de Parfum. So that's the first fragrance I'm talking about here. We are going to Bois Talisman next. It's a 2025 launch. I know there's fans of this, and I think when you've smelled so many fragrances, this comes off a bit boring and something that you've smelled before, especially since being a fan of something like By the Fireplace, this kind of does have similarities to it. I'm not saying it's identical, but it reminds me of it for sure. So that's why I felt like this is not necessarily very exciting. Now, there is that signature chestnutty smell that's in here that you can find in By the Fireplace. So that's definitely something familiar. That reminds me of something that I've smelled before, which I like. I don't hate this fragrance. I just feel like it's completely unoriginal and unexciting. The notes breakdown is cedarwood, vanilla, sugar. And for the first time today, going from the Bois Talisman Esprit de Parfum to this, giving me some coffee vibes. It's supposed to have smoky touches. Yeah, there are smoky touches. It's smoky woods and mostly, smoky woods and vanilla and sugar. And I think this kind of idea, smoky woods, chestnuts are roasted, so it gets smoky. So it totally gives me that kind of an idea here. Also, maybe the roasting of coffee, because it's giving me a coffee vibe for the first time today. I don't hate the fragrance. I just feel like it's completely unoriginal and not super exciting. When Francois Demachet was releasing fragrances before he left, he launched some really, really awesome releases. I know they had a dip there for a while. They redid the whole collection, and they went super, super fresh. Like everything was like really light floral, kind of feminine. But then he came back and did some really awesome releases. And then I haven't seen something super exciting and super original from what Francis has done. I don't hate the fragrance. I just think it's just kind of been done before. But somebody that's not experienced with By the Fireplace might go to this and say, oh my God, that's the best thing I've ever smelled. It's just, I get to smell so many fragrances. This is a bit of a dud. Now, if I was going to compare the way this performs against By the Fireplace, this does have a bit more robust quality to it. It's a bit more intense because it's an eau de parfum, but still, I wouldn't say it's beast mode and things like that. But I like the smell. I just think it's completely unexciting. So that's Bois Talisman from the house of Dior. Let me know if you like it. Again, I don't hate it. I just think it's a bit redundant to have something very similar, especially coming from a master perfumer like Francis Kurkdjian, which kind of is disappointing. Now I'm going to go to this collection here. So we're going to go to Cologne Blanche. Cologne Blanche is a fragrance that was launched originally in 2004, then brought back after Francis took over at Dior. So it was discontinued for a while. It came back as a trio like this, although Bois d'Argent was never discontinued. Bois d'Argent was also Annick Bernardo, as I said. But the other two, Eau Noire and Cologne Blanche, were Francis Kurkdjian. So I feel like these were the very first fragrances that officially became Privée collection. And I think they were eau de cologne fragrances. I don't remember the history so much, but I think that's how it was. And I think that's why they relaunched it. Cologne Blanche is a interesting take on a cologne style fragrance. The violet kind of throws me off. But then again, if you think about it, Francis did I think Absolute pour le Matin also has a violet. So maybe that's kind of similar. I kind of like this a little more than the other, the way it smells, but it's not one of my favorite cologne kind of fragrances, if that makes sense. The violet kind of throws me off. It's almost like violet needs to be a deeper kind of a fragrance. The fact that it also provides a very ambery experience. It's a different take on a cologne fragrance. I don't hate it. I don't love it, but you might like it. It's featuring notes of orange blossom, violet, and amber. So is this really discontinued? I was told it was. I was told this and also Noire was gone. And it's like, again, I will not pay attention to sales associates anymore because they generally do not know. That's the thing. But from what I remember, I got that information not only from Neiman Marcus here, but also visiting the store I visit in Paris on the Rue Saint Honoré. There's a Dior fragrances store, a standalone store. And the woman that's been there for years knows that I have a channel. And I could have sworn she told me it was discontinued. So maybe it was for a bit and they brought it back. I don't know. But I honestly cannot keep up with what Dior does with their fragrances. One minute they release it, next minute it's gone. Like Santal Noir was so confusing for a long time. It was an exclusive to the Middle East, but you can find it in London, at Harrods, and places like that. In fact, I bought my bottle at the Heathrow Airport in 2019, January. But then it came here for a bit. It was removed. Then it was brought back. And I think it's permanently gone. But I've mentioned it recently and somebody said you can still buy it. Like, I don't even know. So I think there's specific markets. If you can get it, whatever. But it's confusing sometimes to keep up with all the different things that the Dior house does. But Cologne Blanche is great. I didn't think it was, it's nice. It's pleasant. I think it's a little nicer now. I actually got this in 22. This was released in 2022, and it's been in the box. It's something that I as a collector, I wanted to keep. But it's smelling a little nicer today since it's gotten a little aged. But I always feel like the violet's powdery effect throws me off a little bit. Let me know if you guys have a similar experience. Anyway, I actually set up a video to shoot, a deep dive video to shoot here. But since it took me so long, I'm planning on doing that tomorrow. But the table is full of bottles right now. So I'm going to shoot that tomorrow. And I'm doing this video just to kind of like do something today and to get this, out there to you guys so you can see the fragrances that Francis has created for Dior. Again, I'm not doing the signature line fragrances. We're not talking about Dior Homme Parfum. We're hoping that it comes into the Dior Privée collection, right? It would be great to bring Dior Homme Parfum into the Dior Privée collection, but I doubt they will do that. For a while that people thought that Cuir Saddle might be that, but it's so different compared to Dior Homme Parfum. So I've been testing it out. As I said, I enjoy this one quite a bit, but once again, it's not super original. And what kind of throws me off, because it kind of gives me vintage fragrance vibes. And then the amber woods, it's so strong to my nose, comes and kind of throws me off. So, I don't recall vintage I'm a big collector of vintage fragrances. If you guys aren't aware, if this is your first time coming here, I have a lot of vintage fragrances. I never smelled amber woods in fragrances, and I feel like here it's quite strong. It's prominent here, the amber woody notes. But up top, you get the leather. It's slightly animalic, and there's a lot of floral notes here. I also feel like there's patchouli, and not only do they have white flowers, there's probably a little bit of rose in here to give me a little bit of that chypre style, the classic chypre style touch. But lots of leather, flowers, the amber wood's pretty prominent. There's musky notes, but I feel like that kind of goes hand in hand with the leather that's in here. And then smoky notes, because some of the databases, like Dior's website says, I think basically leather, musk, and floral notes. They never mentioned the amber woods. And if I hadn't read the notes, I would have totally gone, wow, the amber woods in this reminds me of the amber woods in vanilla powder. It's super strong and intense. First initial smell, that's what the first thing that hit my nose. Eventually, everything kind of smoothed out and blended, but I can totally smell the amber woods in here. But still, not as strong as the first smell. It was like, wow, very strong. In the end, it's kind of closer to the skin. I wouldn't say it's super skin scenty. It is close to the skin. I think initially it does have some projection, then it becomes really close to the skin, but it has really good lingering power. And so I enjoyed that about it, but not something that I haven't smelled before. And again, somebody just like the example for Bois Talisman, somebody that's not very experienced with fragrances and might not have smelled, by the fireplace, might smell Bois Talisman and say, oh my God, that's super amazing. One of the best fragrances I've smelled. But it kind of gets downgraded with its grade because I've already smelled it and it reminds me too much of the by the fireplace. But I like this one. It's a bit old school to me, so that might be a bit off-putting to some folks. I like the leather. I even like the amber woods, but it is just a tad bit too much, I think. Otherwise, it would have been a complete smooth fragrance. And I feel like because of this, it does have better longevity because amber woods are super strong, very heavy, base heavy as well. And it does definitely stand out. But I think it's probably my favorite of the bunch that he's created. And definitely, I recommend you guys at least try it to see if you'll like it. So this is Cuir Saddle from Dior. Let me know if you're a fan. And also, I completely forgot that he did Dioriviera. And in the video review for Cuir Saddle, I didn't mention this one. There's a reason why I forgot this because everything's been just a bit underwhelming, But now that you guys mentioned it, now that I thought about it, this might actually be the contender for #1, but this might be #2 in the lot that he's launched for the EDP fragrances from the Prive collection. But Dioriviera, catchy name. I think Dior's using their Dior name convention a bit too much, I think. There's a lot of fragrances out there like Dior Amour, Dior Essence. Yeah, I think it's a good fig fragrance. I don't think it's the best. I've smelled much better, but it's pleasant. It's green. It's a bit rosy. And, figs, I feel like they're focusing more on the greenness of the figs, the leaves in the tree, because it's quite woody and not the fruits much, but I think there's a slight fruitiness in there. Not beachy at all. It's called Dioriviera. I think there's a lot of fig trees that grow on the Riviera. But I like it. It's a good one. It's definitely solid for me. Very fresh. I think perfect fragrance to wear in the summertime for sure. Let me know if you're a fan of Dioriviera. I like it. Again, I think it's a contender between Cuir Saddle, and I'll let you know when I rank the list here in a bit. But let's move on to Noire. It was at a discounter, and I don't see Dior Privée fragrances at a discounter. And if you went straight to Dior to buy this in the 250 ml bottle, because I don't think, it was a 250 ml bottle for around 300 something. So that's a great price. And a lot of people said, I never thought that Noire was discontinued. But again, I was told it was discontinued. It was gone. I didn't see it at Neiman Marcus. In fact, when I was in Paris, I also didn't see it there. So maybe they brought it back. I don't 100% know what's going on. So it's a bit confusing. But the original Noire, which came like this in the green bottle, is from 2004 and launched as the trio of fragrances, which they brought back in 2022 like this. But as you can see, the color of Noire, green. So when I first got this kit, also, it was not as dark. It's gotten darker. I think the note of Immortelle, I think, gets dark in fragrances, but I kind of like the green. What do you guys think? And now that I think about it, I should not have closed this box back up because I want to compare the two side by side. So on the Dior website, Noire seems to be a bit darker than this. So it could be a lighting thing, but let's quickly smell Noire, the 2004 version in green. Because when I first discovered the Dior Privée collection here at Neiman Marcus in 2012 or 2013, this is the color it was. It's very lavender forward. I believe there's also coffee. It comes off a bit maple syrupy, and Immortelle is quite prominent, so it's molassesy syrupy. There is a slight difference with the smell, but very close. So when I did my video on the trio, I read online on Dior's website notes breakdown of lavender, myrrh, and gourmand accord. That's what the notes breakdown was. But I believe that Noire also had licorice, so kind of a spice, which you also get a little bit here. But coffee, licorice, lots of lavender, Immortelle. A lot of people mention curry. It's very molassesy. It's very syrupy, but also very dry, that Immortelle. It smells of autumn, and I think this fragrance means a lot more now to me after visiting Provence and, taking part in the fields of lavender and speaking to the experts there on different herbs and things like that, including the everlasting flower, which is Immortelle helichrysum featured here. You can totally smell that, field of lavender and all the herbs that are, grown in the south of France in Provence. So that's what it gives me the idea of here. And I'm glad it's not discontinued. I'm glad it's still selling. And again, don't listen to your sales associates. Double check. Because they sure provide, confusing information. I think a lot of the retailers, I'm sorry to say this, but a lot of the retail, like department stores, the associates that work there are not there to learn the product that they're selling. Unfortunately, they're there to just make money and leave. So you go in, you get half-assed information most of the time. And a lot of times there's somebody new that's just been put there to just tell you information so you can leave or buy something, because that's what they're hoping. And I make sure to ask. I thought from what I heard, it was discontinued. So I apologize to you guys for saying the wrong information. I don't plan on ever doing that, but sometimes I get the wrong information. But as a fragrance, Eau Noire was not the most favorite of mine, but of course, when I heard the original was getting axed because they were bringing a new one, I bought one in 2022. So I have a whole green bottle of the original. So now that it comes in a slightly darker color than this, does the smell change or is it kept the same? I don't know. What do you guys think? Add a comment below. All right, next up, it's another Esprit de Parfum. It's Gris Dior. This is the second Esprit de Parfum I bought. The first one was Rouge Trafalgar, but I felt like Gris Dior, much more intense, is a great thing. All of the Esprit de Parfum fragrances, you can actually physically smell with your nose the thickness, especially if you're used to wearing the originals, which come off thin after you put your nose to these. There's a pulpy consistency about them, and I think it's the way the fragrances has been blended. You can literally smell the thickness. But with this, it's rosy, it's oak mossy, it's definitely patchouli. There's a lot of bergamot here as well. Eventually it gets ambery and woody in the base, like amber, sandalwood, cedar. But this does not smell like the amber wood that's prominent in Cuir Saddle whatsoever. This to me smells like a rose chypre style fragrance. The fact that it has a lot of oak moss and patchouli, and I like it. It's my third favorite of the Esprit de Parfums, but I enjoy the original Gris Dior, and I definitely enjoy the Esprit de Parfum version as well. Let me know if you've tried Gris Dior and the Esprit de Parfum. We're now off to New Look, and I actually did a video off of the sample when all I had access to was the sample, and I shot it in Japan on my trip there in Tokyo. You can see the view in the background if you tune in of the beautiful city. This to me is very aldehydic, and aldehydes, I was saying that I don't really like aldehydes. I think I have a love-hate relationship with aldehydes. It's not my favorite, it's not one of my favorite notes, and it's very, very prominent here, super, super prominent. But it's nicely contrasted with Olibanum, like frankincense or incense. You can smell the smokiness. It's also peppery, spicy. Eventually this gets ambery. And once again, it's not a strong contender for me as one of the best Dior Privees. Not really exciting. It's not Vanilla Diorama. It's not Tabacolor. It's not Fève Delicious. It's not Ambre Nuit, which there is a Esprit de Parfum version of Ambre Nuit as well. It's not any of those fragrances. It's not even Mitza or the Vetiver that used to be in the collection. It's just kind of underwhelming. But there are people that like aldehydes. There's people that like peppery, incensey notes, and of course woods in the base. This just does an amber in the base as well. It just doesn't excite me too much. I wouldn't say it's a bad creation. I just don't think it's very exciting. What are your thoughts on New Look? Now, the disappointing part about that fragrance is they discontinued New Look 1947, which I have a full review of on the channel, and they brought that. It's like, why bother? They got rid of a really awesome resinous benzoin-focused fragrance with flowers, and they made a completely different fragrance. It's night and day difference. But that's the real disappointing part about it. I don't think this is a disappointing fragrance. It's just not super exciting. But the disappointing part is that they killed the fragrance that I actually liked and then came up with that. So anyway, next up, Rose Star. I didn't buy a bottle. I do have the mini. Thankfully, some of the sales associates do give me little minis because I do buy quite a bit. This is a honeyed rose, but I don't know it too much. On first sniff, I thought it was boring and underwhelming. It's got a Middle Eastern vibe. It's sweet. It's a bit zesty, astringent. I think it's because it has Sichuan pepper. Oh man, I had Sichuan pepper in China, so it's quite mouth numbing if you ever consume it. But it has a lemony pepperiness, and so it comes off a bit citrusy up top. But this is super fruity as well and honeyed. I don't think it's oudy, but it does act a little oudy, or maybe a light bit of saffron. But there's so many fragrances like this. There's so many. I just don't think this is super exciting, but maybe you like Rose Star. What do you think? I think it's a bit of a dud. So I'll talk about it with a tiny little mini. But the last fragrance is the first Esprit de Parfum I bought. It's Rouge Trafalgar. Honestly, this fragrance is so addicting. I stopped using it because I don't want to use my bottle up because it's a tiny bottle and it goes down because I'm a sprayer and a half. But it's super pulpy. As I said, all of the fragrances, at least the 3 that I have, from the Esprit de Parfum collection, they come off pulpy to me, and you can really experience a fruit pulp here. It's super juicy, very, very fruity with berries, strawberries, raspberries, cherries, black currants. There's musk, patchouli, and citruses as well. Super, super delicious. I could drink that as kind of comes off like a non-boozy, fruits that they would use in a cocktail or something, but more of like maybe more of like a fruit smoothie or something because of the pulpiness. But it's so delicious. Night and day different with between the original Rouge Trafalgar again. Rouge Trafalgar for me, I don't know, has it gotten thin? It seems very, very thin. It's more of a freshie to liberally spray in the summer. This one you can wear all year round. Control your sprays, I guess, in the summertime, but I don't control my sprays. And maybe load it up during the cooler months. But to me, it's more of a like a freshy style because of all the fruits in here. But it smells fantastic. I love it. And that's the last fragrance. I'm going to tell you the ranking of the Esprit de Parfum fragrances. I think it's getting close to being a tie, but Bois d'Argent and Rouge Trafalgar are number 1 and number 2. Number 1, Rouge Trafalgar, Bois d'Argent at number 2, and then Gris Dior at number 3. But it's super close between Rouge Trafalgar and Bois d'Argent, and a bit distant with the Gris Dior. And as in regards to the regular fragrances that have launched since Francis Kurkdjian, so I'm not going to feature Cologne, Blanche, and Noire in this video. I would say Cuir Saddle, Dioriviera, Bois Talisman, and New Look Tide, and Rose Star at the end. This is what I'm feeling. The reason I'm not including Noire and Cologne Blanche is because they were already launched like in 2004, like 22 years ago. So they just brought them back. But since Francis has taken over at Dior the Privée collection, I would say Cuir Saddle, Dioriviera, Bois Talisman, New Look, and Rose Star. What's coming next? I hope something really, really exciting because these are not super exciting. I want excitement. I want fragrances to get excited about, like Vanilla Diorama and Fève Delicious. Bring back Fève because I absolutely love that fragrance and it deserves to be in the Privée collection. But anyway, those are my thoughts on the entire collection. Let me know your thoughts on these fragrances from Dior, the Dior Privée collection. And one more thing I did not touch on here. Since Francis took over, there has been the bottle size change. And that's also been disappointing. Going from a 250 ml bottle to 200, annoying, like literally annoying. I think it's because LVMH, who owns, Dior, Givenchy, and even, Guerlain and Celine. Celine launched their private collection or whatever they call them. And they launched large bottles in 200 ml. Then Guerlain launched their own L'Art et la Métier collection in the uniform bottles, probably like 2021 as well. And they did 200 ml bottles. And I think this was kind of something that was leading up to happen here. And eventually it happened. And they also didn't change the price. They kept the price at $465 for 200 ml. And you normally would get 50 milliliter more juice. You're getting 200 now. So a lot of people got pissed off at this. Anyway, that's all I have for you guys today. I've talked about enough about the Dior Privée collection fragrances created by Francis Kurkdjian. Do let me know if you have a favorite. Maybe it's one of the older ones. Maybe it's one of the Francis ones. Add a comment below. And let us know what we should expect from Dior Privée in the future. Something exciting or more kind of lackluster, you know, kind of mediocre, boring fragrances. Add a comment below. And thanks so much for watching today's video, guys. If you have any questions or comments, please do list below. I'm asking everyone to subscribe to my shorts channel. I will definitely start posting there very soon. If you haven't subscribed yet, I will be posting mostly 1 to 3 minute videos there highlighting one fragrance. So if you haven't subscribed there, please go subscribe there. I'll be also featuring deals there for individual fragrances. I have it linked in the info box. I'm like halfway there. Once I get to the 1,000, I'll start posting videos there of the 1,000 subscribers. So please help me get there. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please subscribe to this channel as well. And click the bell icon for both so you can be notified for future videos. And please don't forget to give a thumbs up for this video. It really does help with the algorithm. And if you can share it, that would be great as well. See you guys later. Bye-bye.